Right, g'day Nabocashrians. Welcome to your Jetstream podcast for this week. We'll also hopefully be releasing this as a video episode as well on Facebook and YouTube. So if you're watching those via those social media channels, welcome. If you're listening to us on the podcast, thanks very much for joining us. It's a couple of weeks since we've done one. We've been a little bit broken up with our availabilities over the last couple of weeks, so continued apologies for that. But we are back, and we've got a very special guest with us, who we'll get to in just a second. But first off, it's a big welcome to Matt, mate. How you going?
Beautiful, Furns. Thanks very much for the professional introduction once again.
I do try and raise the game when we have a guest on.
I thought I was the very special guest.
Well, you're a special guest, but not as special as the person we have joining us today, and that is the voice of football in Australia, Mr. Simon Hill. Simon, thank you very much for joining our humble little podcast.
A pleasure, guys. How are you? Nice to be with you.
Doing very well, mate. And how are you going?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, trying to earn a living out of football, which is not easy, but
absolutely, it's a bit of a struggle at the
we
moment.
Struggle on.
Hopefully, things will improve as time goes on. We will get into that, but before we get into some talking points with you, Simon, we do like to start our podcast with an opening question, and you probably get a theme from it when we get to when we start talking about some topics in a little bit, but. What's something that used to be a thing, used to be a fad, or something that was around for a short period of time, and people might have now absolutely forgotten about it? Well, it's not talked about anymore.
Well, I'll do one non-football one and one football one. So the Rubik's Cube was a massive thing back in was it the 90s or was it the 80s?
Yeah, 80s and 90s, I think.
Yeah, I remember having one of those things and battling with it for hours at a time. And obviously that went out the window once the video games and everything else came in. So, yeah, and Sabutio as well. That was my childhood game. Loved it, but that's pretty much disappeared, although they do still play in Sydney. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, that is around a bit. I have seen it mentioned. And going back to your Rubik's Cube, that is... There's a really interesting documentary on Netflix called Speed Cubers, which you might be interested in. It's a heartwarming little story of a Rubik's World Championships, an Australian bloke.
Is that right? It's still going, is it?
Oh, it certainly is, Simon. I was just going to say, if you're struggling to make a living out of football now, they actually have professional tournaments. I think
I was never that good at it when I had it when I was a kid.
I'm not saying you should compete. I'm saying as a commentator. However, I think they're normally sitting at about sort of 7 or 8 seconds for the records now. So you'd want to make sure your hourly rate's pretty high.
Yeah,
and he's done it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very short time frame. Now, Matt, what about you?
And I'm going to have a non-football and football one related together, and I'm going to talk hairstyles. What about the Beckham faux hawk?
Oh yeah.
Oh dear.
we could get into a whole tunnel of things. We're talking about footballers' hairstyles. Harry Kuehl had a couple.
Absolutely, even the cornrows, but I think they've sort of stuck around for a little bit longer.
The Alice band.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Alice band? That was big in the 90s as well. Did you have one of those? Oh, maybe not. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, if you're listening on the podcast, you can't see Matt's freshly shaved head. A little bit of a mix-up at the barber there.
Kind of. I can call it a mix-up, but let's face it, there wasn't exactly a lot to salvage. So it is what it is.
And what was your other one?
The other one, once again, a hairstyle. But if you remember the bleached blonde fringe.
Yeah. I could probably throw frosted tips into that. I was a big proponent of that in the late 90s. So as awful as it looked, but anyway, I got a full list of them here. Well, not a full list, but a fairly comprehensive list of a few things that I remember that are now no longer around anymore. Some more recent than others. Google Plus, virtual reality, VR headsets, Periscope. Google Glass, 3D TV.
Periscope.
Yeah, Periscope used to be around. Tamagotchi, fidget spinners, snap bracelets, Pokemon Go, planking, the Harlem Shake, Ice Bucket Challenge, loom bands, and a massively expensive short-term fad called Quibi that was a multi-billion-dollar multimedia company that was around for about 30 days and then disappeared.
Can I tell you my most embarrassing haircut going back, because I'm probably a bit older than you two guys. Back in the early 80s, do you remember a band called Tears for Fears?
Yes.
So there was a guy called Roland Orzabal who was the lead vocalist, and he had this cut long curly hair at the front that sort of came over his eyes. And I have naturally curly hair. You wouldn't know it these days, but I do. So I had that over my eyes, and then it was shaved at the sides and at the back. And then you had the little rat's tail, which I bleached blonde and plaited. How about that?
That must have been before your TV days.
Oh, I tell you what, that was a hit with the ladies. Not.
I'll tell you what, I reckon that bleach blonde rat's tail seems to be coming back a little bit, especially on the Central Coast.
Well, we won't get into district rivalries, I don't think. But Simon, leading in from that opening question, talking about things that were a theme for a short period of time and will hopefully go away. European Super League. It's been the story of the week that we sort of really have to touch on, especially a guest of your caliber. What were your thoughts around the whole thing, and what happens from here? I note with interest that UEFA very quietly snuck through some format changes and some eligibility changes to the Champions League starting in 2023 or 2024. But I don't know. Does the whole thing seem a little? Obviously, the whole thing stank. But is there maybe a little bit of horse trading going on there?
Oh, undoubtedly. I mean, in the first place, this all came about, I think it was released early Monday, and we were all expecting the press release to be about the rubber stamping of these Champions League changes, which they'd been in negotiations for some time. And clearly, either something had gone wrong or there was something in there that, the big clubs didn't like. Probably money, let's be honest, or control of it, or distribution of it. And they decided to go off and do their own thing. So I don't know whether you could say that they've sneaked these changes in the back door, because we always knew those changes were imminent. It's just that everybody got blindsided by this release from the big clubs that they were going to form a Super League. Has it gone away 100%? Probably not. I wouldn't be surprised if we see this revisited again in 6 or 12 months' time. But I think the good thing is the clubs involved, I think they probably expected a bit of a reaction, but I don't think they expected what they got. No. And this is if you can have a good bloody nose, this is a good bloody nose for those clubs, because they've been given a very sharp reminder that although they're very rich and although they're very powerful, without the fans, they don't have a game. Yep. And the fans, I think, have got to a point, they've accepted the Premier League, they've accepted bucket loads of money swilling around the big clubs. They've accepted £300,000 a week wages in the Premier League. They've accepted virtually a two-tier system in the Champions League for rich countries and poor countries, rich clubs and poor clubs. But this was one step too far. And the fans literally went out onto the streets and said, "No, you ain't doing this. Not in our name anyway." And I think it's taken them by surprise. But that's a good thing. We needed a little bit of a restoration of some of the balance. And I think these clubs, my own included, felt that perhaps they could just do whatever they wanted. There'd be a little bit of a stink for a day or two. And then everybody would settle back down and go, "Oh, well, if it's the Super League, then we'll pay to watch it." Just like they did with the Premier League. But this was different because they'd ring-fenced it and basically said, "We're the founding clubs. We will never be relegated from this. And we'll just keep taking the cash in perpetuity." And football fans around the world, and I know we're an exception, but they don't cop that.
Yeah. Matt?
So, Simon, just on that, and you touched on it, because I think it was very much, like you said, about protecting the establishment and those teams that had sort of qualified year in, year out. Are we getting to the stage where there is too much money in football?
Of course. And, just on that, what disappointed me about my own club, and from what I've read since, excuse me, it seems like they were reluctant signatories. That doesn't excuse them, by the way. And they were the first out. But City had spent years fighting that establishment, years fighting UEFA and FIFA to a certain extent, but certainly UEFA, and railing against this ring fencing of money in the Champions League by the big clubs. And yet when push came to shove, they said, "Okay, well, we're in with you. So long as we're in the club, then it doesn't matter. And we'll pull the drawbridge up on everybody else. Yeah. Well, you can't do that. That was riding roughshod over the sports. It was taking the fans for granted, and it was basically saying, none of you matter. And this, I've said this on a few occasions, this labeling, and I forget who it was, whether it was Perez or Agnelli or somebody like that, but one of these 12 clubs, labeled supporters of those clubs in the cities that go and watch them every week as legacy fans. Legacy fans. In other words, you're just there because of history. Mm. How dare they?
Yeah.
You take those fans for granted, and you get the sort of scenes that we got on Monday.
Yep.
And good on the fans in England. I'm really proud of those supporters, particularly Chelsea, because they were out, loud and proud saying, not in our name. And they caused them to think twice. And that's good. That's healthy.
I'd also add to that, good on the clubs in Germany who didn't sign up at all. Whether that was the fans or just it was maybe that they had more football people in control.
To be honest, Hutcho, it's more than that. And this is where the game needs a correction, probably from government. I think the German clubs in particular, I can't speak for Paris Saint-Germain because I think they're a little bit different, but the German clubs in particular, as we know, operate on this 50+1 ownership rule. So a rich businessman can buy 49%, but he can't control the club. It's owned majority-wise by its stakeholders, i.e. the fans. So they knew that they couldn't really do that, or it would have been a lot more difficult to do it. Because they had to get it past their own members. Whereas in England, we sold off the family silver years ago. Do you want to buy this historic football club that belongs to the community, Mr. Man from the Emirates or from Russia or from Qatar or wherever it is? Here you go, 100% ownership. Well, if you own something and you pay for it, you're going to say, well, I'm entitled to do what I want with it. It's got nothing to do with you. The great thing about football, of course, is that those fans, even though they don't own the club in a legal sense, they still own it morally and culturally. And that's what they've been reminded of this week.
Mate, we could probably do an entire podcast episode on this, just one topic, but we should probably move on for the sake of time. You do have an engagement you've got to get to after we finish recording here. So we'll move on. Everyone, I think, the entire football community was shocked when you were one of the personalities let go from Fox Sports. What's been the ensuing time period been like? And are you looking to get back into commentating, or do you prefer working more as a journalist? Where does your passion lie in that side of football?
Well, look, I like doing both. I miss doing commentary very much. And do I want to get back into it? Yes, 100%. I'm 53, so I'm getting on a bit, but I'm not that old. I can still do it. And I miss it, particularly on game day. So the last 12 months have been very difficult in that sense. Financially, it's been challenging, but I've been fortunate enough to get enough work to keep me going, thanks to various parts of the football community. Newcastle Jets have been very, very good to me, I have to say, and I thank them for that. Other clubs like Sydney FC as well have given me bits of work. I've had work from Football Queensland, from Football Australia. I've done radio shows on, I've got a radio show on SEN on a Tuesday night, the Global Game with me and Alex Brosk, a little plug. And various other things. So I've got by in terms of earning a living. But is this what I want to do for the rest of my days? No. I'm part of the reason I'm still in Australia is because of the global pandemic, in all honesty. Had that not been the case, I might have been back in the UK. And I am getting to the point now, obviously we've got the A-League rights, coming up for distribution, if that's the right word. That should be decided within, the next month or so at the outside. If it goes somewhere else and they're interested in my services, I'd certainly be interested in doing that, talking to them. If not, or, if it stays where it is, then that'll be me done. I'll I'll be back on a plane at some point in the near future to the UK, hopefully to resume a commentary career over there. If not, well, I'll have to do something else. But yeah, it'll be time for me to go.
Simon, I reckon we could probably get you a gig on Bar TV if you're interested in doing local NPL.
Well, I'm always open to offers. Unfortunately, in terms of commentary, not many people have picked up the phone, which is a little bit strange, but there you go.
The podcast has been going really well, Simon. I'm a regular listener myself. How did that come about? And was it something that you guys were planning, or something that you initiated? How did the Shim, Spider, and So Much More podcast come to be?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I'd started talking to Maury and Spider, particularly Maury, even when I was still at Fox, because the TV deal was up in the air there. Last year, we didn't know where that was going to land. And at the time, and it remains the case today, there was just no conversation around the game. The local newspapers here in Sydney, and I know that you're better off in Newcastle because the paper up there actually gives it decent coverage. Yeah. But here in Sydney, I mean, it's virtually died a death, and it was certainly the case 12 months ago. So Maury got in touch with me and said, we need to do something about this, and I agreed. So I said, look, depending on what happens with Fox, because I knew my, contract was up, and I knew that it was 50-50 whether I was going to be retained or not. I sort of sensed that. So, when I left Fox, it became a no-brainer, really. I said, should we do it? And the other two guys were keen. It's been a challenge because when we started, Maury was on the Gold Coast and Spider was in Sydney. Now Spider is in Croatia via Greece, and Maury's in Scotland. Yeah. So, the time difference has been a challenge, but thanks to our contacts between the three of us, obviously we know pretty much everybody involved in football in Australia. So we've been able to get some pretty good guests, and people seem to like it. It's not earning us any money, but it's a nice thing to do. And I think it's important, not just my podcast, there's lots of others such as the one I'm speaking now, but it's important to have football conversation because the mainstream simply is not providing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the main reasons we're involved in doing this is
absolutely
to spread the word of football in our little corner. But it's not just that. The fan podcasts service their own supporter bases, but we definitely need podcasts that cover the entire league as a whole.
Correct.
With like the Daily Football Show that was around for a little while that then fell over, and a couple of, I used to be on the Footy Fans Down Under pubcast way back in the day, in the early days, and there's definitely a need for more of a general view of the league, and those sorts of voices need to be heard.
And look, I've been fortunate as well that SEN. And they've opened up a new station in Sydney over the last 6 months, and they've backed this new football show that I'm doing with Broski on a Tuesday night. It's late; it's 9:30 till midnight. Ideally, we'd like it a bit earlier, and we'd like it a bit longer, and we'd like maybe 2 eps of it a week. But we've got to start off where we're at, and the game, unfortunately, is probably at one of its lowest ebbs, certainly since the A-League started. So it's not easy to get airtime. It's not easy to get coverage because it's not easy to get sponsors to pay for it. The game is, it's on the nose at the moment, if we're being brutally honest, in comparison to the other sports. So we got to fight hard if we want this sport to not just succeed, but survive. So, some of us are doing that, and I'm happy to, play my part. I've done it certainly since I left Fox. I try and promote the game and talk about the game, sometimes criticize the game because it needs it as much as I possibly can. But as I say, for me, probably in common with lots of others, and Maury and Spider are 2 good examples. At some point, you got to look after your own career and your own life. Yeah. And I can't keep doing all this stuff for free. I've got to earn a living. So, it will come to an end at some point if there isn't, employment, but we'll see.
So, Simon, can I ask you a bit of a question? And I guess it relates to a couple of the points that you've already brought up about how the game has probably changed over the last 30 or 40 years with a lot more money coming into it, and the ownership model's changing a lot and going away from community to Sydney to single business people, and it's become a lot more business orientated. I think that a lot of clubs have probably lost that academy type structure, where a lot of the engagement that came from fans was knowing that people at a young age were going into different clubs, even in the bigger sort of organisations, and they were going and progressing. And you look back to in the early 90s with Manchester United bringing that whole generation through that had come through their academy right at the start of the Premier League. And I guess it's gone now towards the instant gratification of you go out, you buy your players, and then you try and win a title. You see, I guess, what Adelaide United have done over the last 12 months. And, besides Newcastle, I think that they're probably my favourite team to watch in the league this year, because they have got so many young players that are all local, that have come through their youth sort of setup. And I can see their support, like their supporter base has certainly grown because of it. Is that the way to get past this stink in the game, as you put it? That do we need to be more local? Or, I mean, you've got that balance that people aren't going to watch if the team's rubbish and you're not winning. But if you can get them engaged at an earlier, like at a more basic level, because it's local players or it's academy players coming through, do you think that's a way that, or an angle that the A-League needs to explore sort of more?
Well, first of all, I think it's doing that much more this season anyway, just probably out of necessity, because COVID has made getting foreign players in difficult. There's been a reduction in the salary cap. So youngsters are getting more of an opportunity, which I think is a good thing. And I think it's made the league exciting in many ways. I think it's part of the solution. I don't know whether it's the panacea. You can stick 10 or 11 local kids out on the pitch, but if they're getting smashed, as you said, 10-0 every week, people aren't going to watch that. So I think it's part of the equation. It's part of a bigger picture about building club identity. I think that's the key to a lot of what we're missing at the moment. I still go around the country when I'm able to, and a lot of the A-League clubs, they're cookie cutters of each other. They look, feel and smell exactly the same. There's no distinct flavour. Now, when I go to Premier League grounds, and I know it's a completely different level, and they've got 100 years of history, and our clubs don't. But you go to Anfield, and Anfield feels very different to going to the Etihad Stadium and the same Old Trafford and Highbury, the old Highbury, the new Emirates, the new White Hart Lane. When you go to those venues, you know where you're at. You know that you are going to the home of that club, and the fans are steeped in that culture and that identity of that particular football club. Now, I think one of the reasons why Adelaide do reasonably well, relatively speaking, at our level of football, is because they do have a bit of that identity. Some of it is local players. Some of it is having their own stadium that has AUFC on the seats and everything's red around it. It's a proper football stadium, and it feels like a football stadium. Now, with the greatest respect to your mob in Newcastle, and I love the Jets, but when I go to McDonald Jones Stadium, certainly these days, there's very little that tells me I'm going to the home of the Newcastle Jets. I'll probably see Newcastle Knights flags flying. There might be a bouncy castle outside. Those lovely streamers that you've got as your backdrops, I can't remember the last time I saw them. I don't know who owns them or where they live, but little things like that. There doesn't seem to be much of a connection at the moment. I know there's problems because of the ownership, so I'm not necessarily having a crack at individuals here, but doesn't seem to be much connection with the club's past, even as the Jets, let alone the Breakers and KB United. And yet the Newcastle region is one of the cradles of football in Australia. It has such a long history and a very vibrant football community. And yet it just appears to me that in the middle of this big football community, there's just been a football club sort of plonked on top, yep. Which at the moment is a bit of a, and again, I'm not having a crack at the individual's concern, because you've got big problems at the moment. We all know that in terms of the ownership, but that doesn't feel like there's a lot of soul there. And it's the same at a lot of A-League clubs, an awful lot. It doesn't help that we still in some states play in oval stadiums that are horribly oversized. We're seeing Western United go from Geelong to Ballarat to Amy Park to Tasmania. I mean, I know why, but why would they put in the league if they weren't ready? You know, there's no identity there. Wellington playing in red jerseys out of Wollongong. I know why they're playing there because of COVID. I get that. But they're now talking about taking games permanently to Wollongong over the next few seasons. What does that tell their fan base in Wellington? Why would you buy a season ticket if half the games aren't going to be played in your home city? That doesn't build identity. And I think a lot of the owners still haven't sort of made that connection. And I spoke to one CEO, I won't tell you who it is, but about one of these issues. And he said to me, oh, I think fans just want to watch good football. You know, I think they'll turn up whether it's in this place or in that place.
They want to be
are you kidding?
Theirs. They want to be a part of something that's theirs.
They want to be a part of something that you know belongs to them. Now, people in Tassie might turn up on a one-off basis to go and watch Western United. Are they going to go and watch them every week? Why would you? What's it got to do with you? You know, the same. My personal opinion. I'm not going to crack at the idea because you're trying different things. But you play Wellington against Brisbane. We got a double header in Newcastle. Well, who in Newcastle cares about Wellington and Brisbane? With the greatest respect, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I think you know that's when we talk in Australia about a lack of football understanding amongst our leaders. Those sorts of things strike home to me. Football fans are tribal. They want that connection. They want to feel that identity with their club, that it means something to them, that they have that ownership in the same way. And this is why those fans on Monday went out and protested on the streets of London and Manchester and Liverpool, because their club is in their DNA. Same with me with Manchester City. You know, I support City because my dad's a City fan, my granddad was, my great-granddad played for them. You know, that club is why I'm involved in football. It's not because I wanted to be on telly or because I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be involved in football, and Man City gave me that love because I had that identity with that football club. We're a million miles away from that here in many of our clubs here in Australia. Some get it more than others. But overall, we've got a long way to go.
And one of the other issues that I think has gone a long way to declining and not allowing that type of connection to your club build is we're still not getting the relationship with active support right.
Correct.
There was still on Sunday against us, Newcastle versus Macarthur Bulls, the bullpen walked out because of overzealous policing, security restrictions around the ticket prices. It's the same things that we protested this because I was previously involved in, still involved in the squadron. We're now more of a advocacy group rather than an active support. But back in the day, it's the same issues. So the league hasn't learnt their lesson despite meetings, and I was involved in that meeting that had Mark Bosnich and Adam Peacock at it with the heads of the A-League and the heads of some of the clubs talking about what the issues were. We'll look to get this fixed. We want to build a closer relationship. We need to have that point of difference. Active support is still A, not being supported, and B, not being helped to grow. It's being seen as this, it's this European thing that it's not Australian. It doesn't really need to be there, and it doesn't help the club in any way. Whereas if they embraced it, it gives that sense of tribalism. It fosters a sense of belonging to your club. It's these things that they're not getting, and it's not being supported, and they're not helping.
Grant, this absolutely does my head in, this issue, because it's only 4 or 5 years ago that we were getting to the point where we were getting that tribalism. We were getting that identity. Some more places than others, you know, particularly the Wanderers, Melbourne Victory, Sydney FC, even Brisbane Roar with the Den. We had the Squadron, which was a little bit smaller, but all of the clubs had their active areas that made that noise that makes football so vibrant and unique. And the youngsters, who are the future fans of the game, really bought into it because it was something different and exciting. And we were fomenting that beautifully in the A-League. and our leaders killed it stone dead. They responded to a ludicrous article by the late Rebecca Wilson in the Daily Telegraph in exactly the reverse way that they should have done. They should have defended their fans, and instead they defended the article. And the fans went, sod this, we're gone. And they haven't been back. And I don't blame them. And we still, even today, don't get it. That this is our big point of difference on match day. We've got to get those guys back. And it's not about negotiation. It's not about sitting around a table and saying, oh, how can we do things with you? No. The job of the games leaders is to create the conditions so that active support grows organically. You don't control it. You can't control it, and you shouldn't want to. They should support their club within the law, of course, and we all respect that, but they should support the club in the way that they see fit. This is not a corporate entity, and it's not something to be controlled. I don't know about the other codes, and quite frankly, I don't care. But when it comes to football, our fans are different. And until they recognize it and create those conditions where they come back, it'll never succeed.
Matt, we've got to quickly cover off some Jet stuff before Simon has to go. So you want to jump in a couple of questions there? Simon, let us know when you've got
Sure.
a time.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, mate, I think that I've sort of covered most of the things, and like Simon touched on a beautiful point. If you go back about 7 or 8 years ago, you can see some of the videos on YouTube still of like fans at Southern Cross Stadium and whatnot, and the atmosphere that was generated.
Makes me weep, Hotcho, looking at those things now, because it seems like a different age.
And do you think that Melbourne Victory would be in the same position they were now, with people arguing about, what's going on with the club and falling attendances and whatnot, if that active support was still there? Do you think, and you brought it up before, that some club owners and CEOs and whatnot will say that the fans just want to see good football? Mate, if that was the case, would I have been to a Jets game in the last 10 years?
Exactly. And my point as well, when people say this, and to be fair, there are some people in the media who say this, oh, I don't support a team, I just support good football. What a load of nonsense. Because if you're saying you just support good football, what happens, and teams go through cycles. We all know this. The Jets were champions in 2008. The next year they finished bottom. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. That's the nature of the game. So what you've got to do is get fans that are rusted on, that turn up thick and thin. If it was all just about good football, then why did Brisbane Roar, who played the best football I've ever seen in the A-League under Ange Postecoglou, why are they still not getting 20, 30,000 every week? Because those fans have dropped away, because they enjoyed the football at the time, but when it changed, they still had no emotional bond with Brisbane Roar. And that's what I mean about the identity of the club. So I think that, beautiful football and entertaining football, it's all a smokescreen. It's about whether your club matters to you or not.
Well, sorry, you said it. The Den's gone, Riverside Crew's gone.
Yep.
The supporter crews are gone. If you don't sit down at a A-League game now, you're pretty much out. What's the point of going?
Ludicrous. We've made it as difficult as we possibly can for fans to turn up, which should be the opposite of what we're doing. There's other things as well, and obviously COVID hasn't helped. The lack of publicity around the game hasn't helped. The fact that the broadcaster appears to have almost washed its hands of it hasn't helped.
Even just a simple thing as ticket prices. Our prices are generally more expensive than going for a family ticket's generally $20 more expensive than it is to go to a league. Or
they're all factors. They're all factors. But even in the middle of COVID, I know that the Knights up there a couple of weeks back had 22,000. They're nowhere near the top half of the table. So it proves that people still will go out and watch sports if it's made attractive enough for them. We're just not doing a good enough job of it.
So just a final question, Simon. Jets very specific. We've obviously had a tumultuous few years again. And after the Martin Lee license was cancelled, we're currently in ownership of 4 other A-League clubs, so currently in control. How confident are you that this will progress to a new ownership either in the short or medium term, and get the club back to properly investing in the areas it needs to succeed on and off the pitch. Because we saw in 2018 when Martin Lee had come in, he'd invested in the squad, the club was engaged with the community. Laurie McKinnon had done great work behind the scenes in getting people back, getting people involved, getting people engaged. We saw what happened. The crowds came in. We got a grand final. Obviously, it didn't work out the way we expected, but you saw what happened when the right things were done behind the scenes with the club. How confident are you that this will happen down the line?
Well, look, I'm confident because it has to happen. Newcastle is too important a market for the A-League to let go of. I know there's the Mariners down the road as well, but Newcastle is a bigger city. It's got such football heritage. There's no way that Newcastle cannot be in the A-League. So on that principle alone, they have to find new owners. Now, I think we would all prefer if they were local owners because, again, they would have that identity with the city and with the club. Whether you've got that possibility within your own community, I don't know. So if it is an overseas owner, well, okay, not all overseas owners are bad, but you got to find the right one, and they've got to be willing to invest, and they've got to be willing to invest for the right reasons, not just because there might be $1 in it in 2 or 3 years' time when they sell the license on, but because they really want to invest in the club, in the people, in the region, in the city. So that's down to the A-League owners now. I mean, they own it between 4 of them. So they've got to go out to markets and make that club attractive again, attractive enough to try and buy, and and the league overall attractive enough to invest in. And those are all questions, that have to be answered pretty quickly, to be honest. It's not just Newcastle, it's the whole league. Because it can't continue on the current trajectory. With the crowds it's getting, with the lack of publicity, with the lack of money, it's treading water at the moment. But hopefully that's going to change with the new broadcast deal within the next few weeks.
We hoped it was all going to change when the APL was formed and the clubs took over the league, but that hasn't really seemed to eventuate. I mean, how confident are you that the league is in the right hands finally after all of the decoupling arguments and fiasco that took place over the last 3 years, that we're finally in a position to capitalize?
Well, look, the jury's out. Let's be honest. It's the next 2 months are make or break. They've got to get a good TV deal, and B, a TV deal that not just secures their financial future, but invests in the game emotionally, which is just as important as the dollars. It's got to be willing to promote the game. It's got to be willing to invest in the game in terms of publicity, programming, getting a bit of hype back around this league, because at the moment we have none. So there is no silver bullets. It's not going to happen overnight, but those building blocks have to be put in place. Now, they've been, talking a good game for quite a long time, the APL. The old mantra was, we can't do anything until we get the keys. Give us the keys and we'll show you what we can do. Well, you got the keys.
What are we doing?
So what are we doing? And they're saying, well, wait till we get the TV. Well, okay. The TV deal is up in 2 months' time. So, we've got to start, enough talk, we've got to start seeing action.
Quick answer. Do we stay as a winter comp or do we go back to summer?
To be honest, I don't care really. All I want is what's best for football. I think the game looks better in winter because it can be a bit faster because of the conditions, obviously. I think it's, probably a little bit more friendly for fans in terms of, you're not going sitting in the blistering sun for 2 hours, 40 degrees in the middle of January. It can stay in summer, but, we can't have kickoffs at 3 o'clock in 40-degree heat. That doesn't entice fans to come, and it doesn't give us good football. So, again, that's part of the broadcast deal that has to be resolved. And we've got to stop, treading on eggshells around the other codes. Oh, we can't play at that point of the year because rugby leagues. I can't play there because it's Aussie rules. Oh, what about... we're never going to find a time of year where there's no other sport on, and we're not the main game in town. So stuff the other codes. Let's do what's best for football. And if we get a better product, then, hopefully people come and watch.
Another quick answer. Who scored a better goal, Stevie UG last week against MacArthur or Nikolai Topper-Stanley last year?
Oh, you've got to go with Topor, haven't you?
Thank you.
That was an absolute bullet. Stevie's was good. Stevie's was a great hit, but that was a howitzer from Topor Stanley. That was one of the goals of the season. It was the goal of the season, wasn't it? I think.
Pretty close.
Well, I'm pretty sure they both listen to this, so just watch out for next time you've got an interview.
Just post the check off, Nikolai.
Simon, mate, we really appreciate you joining us. We know you've got to dash off, but we really thank you for your time, and we hope to have you on again soon.
Thanks for having me, guys. I enjoyed it.
Good luck with everything. Thanks, mate.
Cheers.
Appreciate it. Cheers.
Appreciate your time. Thanks, mate.